Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Tanner Watt. I'm a municipal energy specialist with Local Authority Services, and I'm joined today by Michelle Yort, who's Director of Business Development in Canada for StreetScan StreetLogics, and Jim Esterbrook, who's Customer Service Manager for StreetScan StreetLogics. Just a couple quick housekeeping notes. We will be sending up a follow-up email to everybody who registered with contact info for the three of us and a copy of the slide deck. We are recording this, but we won't be posting it publicly. So if you would like a copy of the video, just reach out to one of us and we'll be able to send you a link. We'll be doing Q&A at the end of the presentation. There's a Q&A box or function in Zoom that should pop up on your screen somewhere. So if you have a question as we're going through, feel free to type it in there. And then at the end, we'll switch back and answer all of those as we go. So with that, I will hand it off to Michelle.
Alrighty, thank you, Tanner, and good morning to everybody. Thanks for joining us, and hope that you're all doing well out there in the new and exciting world that we're living in. All right, so a lot of you are familiar with StreetScan and StreetLogics. We've been in Ontario for 3 years now and have been at AMO and OGRA and Roma and have done a lot of presentations. So I'm gonna barely give a very brief overview of the whole service, but today we're gonna really focus on StreetLogics, which is our software, and Jim's gonna do a web demo of that for you. So as most of you know, there are kind of two aspects to the service that we offer. One is the vehicle-based objective road assessment, and then the second is the software. If you have questions about the vehicle-based road assessment, feel free to give me a shout or check in later and I can provide you with information on that, but today we're going to focus on the software. Just to give you a little sense of what we've been up to, we've got over 50 municipalities that we're working with now in Ontario. You can see them here on the image. Many of them are your neighbors. So if you want a reference, if you want to find out how this service is working for any of them, feel free to give me a shout and I'll provide some names for you. Just an overview of some of the functionality that StreetLogics has. This is specifically looking at helping you manage your pavement and what's in your right-of-way. It is GIS linked, so you're able to do the visualization and you're seeing all of the items that are here. So specifically budgeting and planning is something that this is going to give you an incredible amount of capacity for.
Michelle?
Yep.
The screen doesn't seem to be changing for us. Can you just try shut off the screen share and start it back up again?
Okay, so you're not getting the flipping?
No, it appears it may have frozen.
Oh shoot. Okay. Let's see.
Oh, that's better, I think.
Okay. Now, what are you saying?
Not reporting benefits.
Okay, that's what I want people to see. Should I flip back and show the Ontario map quickly, or where did it get stuck?
It was just stopped at the very beginning, so yeah, it might not hurt.
Okay, well, we can do a quick tour. Here, just showing that we have both the road scan and the software. Here's showing the map of the province with the municipalities that we're currently working with in Ontario. It's an overview of the capacity and the functionality of StreetLogics. And here, I wanted to share kind of the top 2 benefits that have been reported by our users. So, what is it that we're repeatedly hearing that people really like about the software? Because there's other systems out there and there's other ways of doing this. The one is the integration of the GIS visualization and the analysis. So to be able to see everything that you're working on while you're doing the analysis it's hard to overstate how helpful that is. And then that leads exactly to the second one, which is user friendliness. It's pretty great when you can jump on to the software and fairly intuitively do the kinds of work that you want to do quickly, but still have the functionality. So we're trying to find that sweet spot between not making it so complicated that it's just too cumbersome to get into, but delivering the functionality that you want. And with the visualization, it makes it easy. One thing that's really important is that we do integrate with the other asset management software that's out there. In Ontario, the biggest one is Citywide, Public Sector Digest. We have lots of municipalities that we work with that use Citywide, and so we're able to link in with that and to provide both aspects that you want. And then without further ado, that I'm going to switch over to Jim and to the demo, but just to give you a bit of an overview of StreetLogix. It is cloud hosted and it's web-based. We have Amazon Web Services, which is a very reliable platform. Unlimited users is a great advantage. That it's one fee for anybody. And this is especially nice if you're using the 360-degree imagery. Perhaps there's somebody in your building department who would like to take a look at that. It's very helpful. And then, of course, the analytics all built in. And you see you can use it from any device. So whether you're on your phone or laptop or computer. So I am going to now switch over to letting Jim take over here.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everybody. My name is Jim Estabrook. I'm most likely probably the most new to working with folks. I came on to StreetLogix about a month ago or so, and basically in my role as customer success manager, I really sort of own the overall relationship and long-term investment that we make with our customers. So it's a new role, and there may be some of you in the audience today that I've already reached out to, and if not, plan on hearing from me. You know, as Tanner had said in the beginning, we'll disseminate our information and contact information so that if you have any immediate needs or anything, you know, that you'd like to do, I'm happy to spend some time with you through a webinar. You know, we can build out some models and exercises and stuff like that. And really, my overall goal is to get people using the software and finding the true value within the software. So so don't hesitate to contact me at all. So I've opened up one of our demonstration portals. So fear not, I'm not going to be messing around with any of Barry's actual user data, but we use them as a basis for this presentation. And what we've done is we've copied over the data that they have in their system in the scan that we had previously undergone with them, and this gives us a testbed to run a few different scenarios, budgeting scenarios, and also get into some of the longer term maintenance aspects and keeping your roadway network up to date as far as we've planned, we've budgeted, and we've executed. And after we've executed, we want to update our street segments to reflect that work that's been completed. So with that, I know people are familiar with the toolkit to a certain level, and one of the things that I wanted to highlight here in the beginning is that we've got recent releases of the platform that have come out, and we're slowly going one by one through every one of our customers and upgrading their systems. So if you see some functionality in this demo portal that you then reference within your own portal and you don't see, don't worry about that. We're getting to you, and if you have a direct need, I'm happy to help. Help bump you to the top of the list if you've got some imminent budget planning or anything like that going on. Big message. Don't feel free to work with us. So So when I load up the portal, as you guys see, it's GIS centric, as Michelle had said. Gives a very good overview of sort of not only what your generic PCI is, but also what does it look like, and also what are the areas that that you're doing well and not doing well. Like we see here in Barrie, Barrie actually has a tremendous good score on their local roads. Some of their arterials and collectors are hurting a little bit more. And I'm not exactly sure what that reason is. Likely the officials in Barrie do know, and will have some of that insight. Could be budgetary. It could be just age of those roads, the type of construction that was done. Any number of different reasons that can lead to this sort of result. But typically what we do is once we've delivered our results through a street scan, we then go through and we add this additional layer of local knowledge, and that's really what some of the power within StreetLogix holds, is the ability to both analyze and manipulate the data that has been delivered and has been done. And the reason for that is there's two significant attributes that go into managing a good pavement management system. And that's the condition of the road. And we've taken a normalized condition here, and we combine that with, based upon the PCI or the condition, whatever metric or index is used, what would be the prescribed treatment for that road under that condition. And so once we've matched these up, we're able to take in what the cost, your per kilometer cost, or your square yardage cost would be for implementing these treatments, whether it be crack seal, chip seal, fogging, anything that you would actually end up using as a treatment method within your community. And we're able to extrapolate that out to build upon plans and capital improvement plans for that. So with that, I want to sort of walk people through the interface, especially those that haven't accessed the system in a while or haven't seen it, and just give an overview. And then there's two main things that I'd like to get into. One being the ability to build out some of these capital plans and budgets, and the other getting into the editing of some of these segments and allowing our customers to update their road network as time goes by. So with that, it's standard basic sort of GIS focused interface. So we've got many of our standard tools over here where we can pan around, zoom in, do all sorts of this navigation throughout the system. Out of the box, we provide multiple base map layers in here, so we can toggle between any of these. And these are updated on a semi-regular basis by whoever the provider is. There's numerous different providers and stuff like that in here, but it allows for regular updates to this base map. Additionally, if your community has any GIS or any aerial photography that you would find beneficial to have added to the system, please reach out and we can do so. There's some simple, easy ways that we can do that, and I can show you today. And then there's some slightly more robust and more prescribed, symbology and things like that we can introduce into the system as well. So anything that you have or that has been paid for, whether it be regional or local, stormwater systems, water, wastewater, anything like that, that's going to help you with your decision-making process, please let us know, and we're happy to add that in. That just further amplifies the benefit of the system itself. So we've got our base maps over here, and you can toggle to whatever you're going to find to be beneficial. We also have some measurement tools built in as well. So we can take measurements as an area. So in case you were looking to get a nice expensive cul-de-sac in here, one of the things I never liked when I worked for municipalities, trying to cost to get paved. measure distances, identify specific locations, anything like that. We've got a few different options as far as how we want to display it on certain attributes here. Miles, kilometers, anything like that, nautical miles, if you're feeling so inclined. Same thing in here, square kilometers. So you'll be able to choose whatever your units are that you would like to leverage for whatever your purpose would be. Over here, this is the legend of the system, and this is dynamic. So anytime you turn on or turn off various layers, it's going to refresh and add that characterization of that data in there for you. Going through a little bit more of the interface, in addition to some of the things that initially come up, like a little intro, which is going through sort of the various, components within the system, and highlighting some of the things if you feel like that would be beneficial to you. Scrolling through that would be good. Also, if you have any new staff that have come on board, it gives a quick little intro. I would also say, please reach out to me, and happy to go on and do some training for an hour or whatever it is. No additional cost or anything like that for any of those services. And then we can get into help, and then also support. And if you find that you have an issue or something looks off for whatever reason, you can put in whatever your subject, description, any images, screenshots are extremely beneficial when trying to diagnose any software problems or issues, should they come up. But even things where you're not exactly sure how to handle a certain aspect of things, or you want a report, you can't really describe the report, but it would be beneficial. Putting those details in there and submitting this, that'll actually go right into our ticketing system, and I've got some really great folks on my team who will reach out to you right away and help you navigate through whatever you need. So beyond that, there's also some help files built right in, and we try and keep these updated on a per release basis, and they go into any of the sort of various pieces of functionality of the system that we'll see today. So that's always built within the system. Going over a little bit, we've got a whole bunch of tools over on the left-hand side here, and I'd like to highlight a few of them for you. So if I go back home and I zoom out, and I've got my full community here, sometimes I want to go ahead and I want to filter out based upon certain attributes. So some pretty common ones to go for are things like, let me just see how things look if I do, say, my functional class. So I'd set functional class as being the attribute within the data table, because all of these lines and all of this geometry ties back to an individual record within the database. And I want to go ahead and say, let's filter out just the unique arterials, and we'll see what that looks like. So now we filtered out, and we're only showing the arterials. We've hidden back a lot of the collector and local roads, and at the same time we've also modified our data table down below to show any of those particular individual road segments. Within this segment here, we can select a particular road segment, zoom into it, clear it, refresh, do anything we would need. Also, one area that tends to be particularly useful, and let me switch this over to say local, is when doing some analysis, and Barry's not doing me any favors by having very good condition local roads, but if you zoom in on one particular area within here, and you want to say, let's filter down just my records so that I've only got those that are within our map segment here. Maybe we export this data out to a CSV, or other things that can be read by Excel. We can filter this even further all sorts of different tools and techniques to really sort of dive down to whatever the specific answers are you're looking to derive. So with this, we can put in, really the ability to filter upon any pieces of function, in here. If you've got daily traffic counts available in your data set, that's a terrific one that helps highlight even, gives another look at some of the difference between, your functional classifications of your roads, and things along those lines, which can be very beneficial in the decision-making process. So I'll turn this off and we'll show all of our roads again. And one note in here is this table can be, popped up, popped down, made larger, smaller, really whatever's needed. Now, right away, we try and put together some initial defined charts and whatnot. So distribution of repairs, all sorts of different things that we've seen a lot of communities just generally look for as they're choosing a pavement management system. So by actually, going over any of these particular piece of data in the bar chart, it'll actually highlight the various segments of the road that are falling within each one of these rehabilitation or other treatment methods in here. So we'll do a summation of what the total kilometer length is, along with just the general amount of the condition that's been assessed for each of these. So I can clear this out. We can build out any custom charts based upon a few different fields and categories, pie charts, bar charts, anything like that. If you have some certain specific objectives, go ahead and give this a shot first. And if you're not able to derive some of those answers, feel free to reach out right away, and we can usually come up with something that can be a good combination for us. So saw chat come in here. So one of the questions I had was, can you create a bar chart that shows the PCI condition, bar for each PCI, and then per category for class of each road? So a couple of different options for that. And actually, Jeremy, I'd be happy to speak with you afterwards. We can set up some time and actually do that with some of your specific data. I don't want to deviate too much from some of the plans of things, but sorry, just a little revision. But yeah, we can absolutely do that. So sounds good. So getting back to some of the charting and dashboards that we have in here. I want to go over our budgeting tools in our budgeting toolkit. So we've got three primary. Right now, we have three primary tools for budgeting, and they seek to answer, in many ways, the same kind of question of what's the cost and what's the plan, but in different ways. And these are common questions that even 10, 15 years ago, my city council would be asking me, as far as what happens if we give you X amount of dollars? Well, what if we give you Y amount of dollars or Z amount of dollars? What can you do? How's that going to improve our network? And also the constraint-based approach, which we'll take a look at here first, which goes along the lines of, I've got X amount of dollars this year, Y amount of dollars next year. Maybe I get some additional capital money in year 3, but I don't want to necessarily plan for it. What can we get done? How do we best utilize this money based upon a couple of respective values that we have within the system? So the first thing I want to do is, so I want to go through, we'll build out maybe a 3-year plan. We have the ability to do sufficient filters through here as well. So we could say, build me out a 3-year plan that only captures our arterial roads or our collector roads or local roads. You can sort of divvy up the cash any way that you would like, based upon what you have in your larger financial bucket there. We can also select out any specific categories or anything along those lines. So what I'd like to do is say build out one here. And let me see. We're switching around here a little bit. So occasionally, if I wait a little bit too long, things will time out on me. But if I build out a 3-year plan and I'll populate each one of these years, say, first year we can do 1 million, second year 1.5 because we're getting some additional funding or something like that, and then year 3 we're back to 1 million. I'll apply this. I won't do any filters, so I won't deviate things by a functional class or maintenance suggestion. One of the things that we find beneficial is because as we'd all like to think that our road selections are completely scientific based, we do all have some political input at some point. So if there's wards or precincts or anything like that in any of your communities, neighborhoods even, and you're looking to drive a level of parity, in the amount of kilometers that you treat and all these roads in their various sections, we can add that as a layer in here and then use that as a as either a filter or tag it as an additional piece of data to help sort of balance out some of those constraints. For instance, if I look in Barrie, maybe they would want to try and pay a little bit more attention to this segment of town because maybe it maybe it's just an aging section of town or something like that. But any sort of possibility that we have there. So 3 years, I'll say, I'll give this a little name, this little scenario here, because we're able to save these scenarios, download them, repeat them, build out really as many as we would like and see the various options. So we'll say a 3-year, 1.5, and then 1 again. I'll execute on this plan, and you'll notice in here we've built 2 separate sort of ways to visualize this. There's number 1, there's the year by year analysis, and that breaks these out. And then there's also the costing and sort of the table that goes along in here too. So year 1, we're looking at a general cost of just shy of $1 million because we've capped our financial capacity there at 1 million. We've got our average network PCI, and then what that changes. And this is sort of a best fit plan based on some inputs that we have. And we'll go into some of the details on what those various inputs are and what those various parameters are. But for now, what we want to do is we want to tweak these. We want to make these actual realistic to how we would actually execute with them with our construction plans. Case in point, we'll look at this segment right in here. We've got 2 segments of road. You're certainly not going to make any friends within the community by doing this over 2 separate years, especially in this neighborhood. So we would want to adjust some of these, and that'll adjust both our cost, our PCI, and other segments. So say we took the year 2 segment, a little bit smaller, and we added it to year 3. We want to see how that would actually affect our year-to-year budget. So I'll select year 2. I'll remove this segment. You'll see the way we indicate this in red and green, the way that it's dropped some of the cost, it's affected the PCI and the average network PCI, and now we'll add it to year 3. So it's kind of just taking a piece of one and adding it to another. So we'll go ahead, we'll add that segment in here. We'll notice that we bumped up a little bit and gone up and made that variation in here. Now you can go 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever that right scenario is for yourselves. And from that, you're basically building out your capital plan. So you can do a chart on how this would end up looking year 1, year 2, year 3, using the finances that you put in for your budget. And if you go back, you can generate a report from this, and I can show that real quick. Now this segment up here, we'll give it a moment for this to populate, but this is a map that actually is being based off of the actual segment of the map section that you saw in there. So that'll be zoomed into our particular neighborhood. But with that, we look at the deterioration curves. So it basically gives a general model on our locals, our collectors, and our arterials here. Gives our full year-over-year segments. And then it also gets into some of the individual segments that are being done here. So a lot of folks will put together a few scenarios. They'll print some of these out. They'll put together a few maps and scenarios, and then they'll sort of circulate them amongst whoever has the constituents that they want to weigh in on this. Could be your local elected officials. It could be city management, or it could be some other components. So close out of here, and if I wanted to go ahead and save this or download this, I can actually download this file here, and I can save it locally. And I would be able to generate a few of these scenarios and then go back and load them at a later time for whatever was needed. Could just go ahead and upload a particular scenario and it would actually populate in here. So you could build out a whole bunch of them. So getting into our next tool set, we're looking at our general budget estimator. So using our pavement, because one of the important aspects here is we can do this with pavement, with your streets, but also your sidewalks. And we can also segment out if you have varying types of road, gravel roads, cobblestone, brick, any number of different surfaces. Those can each be treated differently and with different parameters for actually how you budget and how you maintain those individual segments. So top of that, we'll say over 3 years, not filtering out anything, I want to get my community to an 85. Bit of a lofty goal, but something that can be done. How much would it cost to get there? For that, we'd be looking at about $7.25 million per year. So maybe that's a little bit too lofty. Drop that down, calculate it again, see what that cost comes out. And it allows you to quickly run through a bunch of scenarios that allow you to sort of give some information on as far as what some of the high costs are for actually getting to these goals for having streets of a minimum PCI. So third tool is kind of looking at some of the scenarios themselves. And apologize, sorry, I spilled something in my throat. But what we're able to do is say, let's do a 5-year plan. We'll do one scenario, or we could do 5. And with that, what we can do is we can say certain number of dollars year by year. So 5-year plan. We're not going to filter out by anything, but we'll do scenario 1, and we'll say for 5 years, say I was spending $250,000. Scenario 2 is say 300,000. We'll say $1 million, and $1.5 million, and then say for whatever reason we had a whole big bucket of money. We ran through 3. We could go ahead and execute upon that. And with that, it's going to show what our general nominal costs are as they come through here. So for each scenario in each one of the costings, you're going to see what the overall affected cost is and how it actually affects over time as it goes through here. So I saw a couple questions come in here. Anonymous attendee number 1. Sorry, I may have missed this, but how are the costs determined? Great question. So going through all of these different budgeting scenarios, we're using a set of variables, and we work to actually go through and generate what those variables are. So case in point, we've got our various assets. So here we're looking at our street network, but we could do this with sidewalks, and we could do this with some of the other components. The surface type, we've only got asphalt recorded here in Barre. However, if there were other surface types in the community, we could have separate surface types throughout. So, so going through each one of these, we can go ahead and we can filter based upon a couple of different characteristics, you know, ward, class, anything like that. But for the most part, we're going to go ahead and we're going to say, what are our PCI breaks? So based upon our PCI, you know, the condition of our road, we have some variability, and this is going to change from community to community. But we've got thresholds. You know, a PCI of 0 to 40. We're typically going to have it in some sort of reconstruction, and we're going to have a unit, you know, a unit cost for this on a square meter. And this is going to vary geographically. This can vary wildly. You know, in you know what your overall costs are for reconstruction. Rehabilitation is a little bit of a general term here, and what I always do with communities is, rather than just specifying preventative maintenance versus rehabilitation, I like to build this out and include each and every one of the methods that that a community would actually use. So this can be mill and overlay. This can be cost of mill and overlay with some base reconstruction, because you have the feeling that, you know, some of these areas are actually going to blow out, you know, the base when you mill them. This can be, you know, things that you can be inclusive of or exclusive of, like resetting curb or anything like that. And we can build out and add a whole different, you know, dimension as really, I think we can go up to 10 methods. Is really how we've you know, built out the system. But we can change any of the unit costs, you know, put in any sort of different method in here, and actually just adjust these to whatever we feel like those thresholds are going to be. And with that, we can build out, you know, a few of these. We can apply them and save them to different surface types. Same thing goes with preventative maintenance. Depending on what you use, it could be just crack sealing, it could be chip sealing, micro surfacing, fog sealing, whatever you guys actually end up using as far as your treatments go, and then adjusting what those unit costs are. So this is one of the parameters that that we use when we're setting our cost, and then we also have some priority-based parameters as well. So with the priority repair, what we typically have is we are typically able to derive some sort of functional class ID. You know, this is usually included in the data set, but this can also be adjusted. And I really try and impress upon customers to actually review the functional class ID and see if it actually adheres to, you know, what you would classify it as yourself. This is especially as it gets into some of the more rural communities. Because you may have a 4-prong or a 7-prong classification scale that the DOT uses, but it may not be an accurate reflection of what your actual roadway network is that you're responsible for. So you can always make some of these adjustments. PCI, same thing here. You know, we're going to go with a descending correlation for both of these. Functional class can be ascending. It depends on what you know, what numbering system has been used and is in place. PCI, we're going to give a slightly higher priority to some of the roads that are in slightly better condition as far as some of the treatments that we put on. Try and get to those roads earlier and try and generally slope up your PCI rating. You know, spread it out a little bit further. I had one of my mentors had a very good way of explaining it. He said, if you had a whole fleet of vehicles and you had limited amounts of money, would you change the oil in every vehicle, or would you not change them and then go ahead and just change out the engine on that engine that had seized, on that vehicle that had seized? And it was, well, you're generally going to get a significantly better, longer lifetime by doing some of that preventative maintenance. We can add in any of these, any of these other factors that are found within the data. If you have ADT, if you have proximity to, schools or public buildings or hospitals or anything like that, that could be leveraged for actually, expanding upon this. We're happy to add those in. We can also change the weights on these. So right now we've got it split 50-50, but we can add in more as well. Going on to another attribute here is let's taking a look at the deterioration curve. So you've all seen, sort of the deterioration curve of how a road, starts to break off. Now we pre-populate with a fairly linear curve in here, but you guys know your roads, you know what you can do, what you can't do, and how they actually crumble. Now, many of the areas in your communities are not too dissimilar from mine, as I'm here in Northeast U.S. But typically what we've done is we've gone ahead and we've actually made it a little bit more of an exponential curve, whereby the road gets to a certain condition, and then there's just limited amounts or capabilities of any treatments that you would try and apply, and the road will just continue to get worse no matter how much more money you spend on it, until you've actually reclaimed that road fully and done a full new road in there. So we can adjust any of those. Same thing going for any of the different surface types if you have any. We can also go ahead and actually work through some of the repair impacts and actually add some of those in here as well. Get a little bit late on time, so I'll skip through some of this stuff, but also other abilities such as going ahead and making any edits or anything like that. We can actually go ahead and go back on those. So so all of those features and functionality help to sort of go into how you would actually go through your budgeting. One of the other attributes that I do want to touch upon, and I want to try and leave about 10 minutes for Q&A, is getting into some of the attributes and actually updating some of these network segments as we go through. So if I zoom in to an area of town here, and say we've got this one road right in here, Holgate Road. And this past year, we went ahead and we actually did do some reconstruction on it. So it had a PCI of 37. Say we did a mill and overlay, and actually made that update so that it would bump that road score up. We went out, we look at it, and we say, you know what, mill and overlay for our community, we'll bump that up to say an 80. And what's that change in here? And that's going to actually bump us up to preventative maintenance. It's going to make some impact on our repair priority and our estimated cost for any of the future repair maintenance. So go through there. Okay. So we can get into any of those bits of combination as far as how we go through editing and updating any of those sort of attributes, and happy to do that together with any of the communities. So I'm going to switch gears here for a moment, and we've actually been requested to show you guys some of the other things that we've been working on as far as work order systems go. So I want to show you sort of two components here when it comes to a work order system. Let me open up the US one here. And I'm going to open up a couple of tabs here. I want to show you what this works at. For quite a while now, we've actually been getting inquiries and requests as far as building out a work order system. for our communities. You know, really sort of, it's either a basis of they're not happy with what they have existing, they, you know, are looking to implement something for the first time, or they want something that directly ties their roadway and maintenance efforts back into their assets and their asset management system. So with that, we started building out a system that that should be released in the next, I think we're looking at about a month and a half, and I'm happy to, you know, sort of delve into any of the deeper aspects of that timeline with anyone. But a system that has really sorts of two facets to it. There's the work being done in the field, and then there's the setting up and reporting of tasks. And there's sort of two aspects when it comes to these systems. There's the prescriptive and preventative tasks, and then there's the reactive tasks. And we've built out the system in order to allow for you know, both scheduled tasks to happen, say, you know, cleaning catch basins, going through doing you know, maybe a yearly road inspection or something like that. And then there's also the other bits, such as fixing signs and anything else, pothole filling, all that sort of stuff. And we're building this out in the sense of not only being able to originate those requests from within, you know, within your ranks and from within your department, but also if it's of interest, allowing for citizens to be able to submit, not necessarily commit to those, not necessarily being able to commit to those particular pieces of work, but submit, you know, say a pothole for notification, and then that can come in and then, you know, generate a work order if a supervisor deems it fit to do so. And the reason we have that intermediary step is because I think back to when I, you know, worked for Public Works Department. If a tree falls across the road, you don't get one call about it, and you don't generate one, you know, you generate one work order. It's sending the crew out with their chainsaws and clearing the road. You are quite likely to get 5, 10, 15 reports for that, because it's, you know, impeded in a major way. You'd be able to take all 15 of those various reports and then actually digest them into one single work order that would be fulfilled, and then allow, you know, that information to be sort of, you know, backwards updated to the public when that has been cleared. Not too much unlike if your local electrical utility has outage maps and things of that nature. You report, you confirm, shows the outage, and then once that you know, once that network has been brought online, even if it's not yours and the power is not going on in your house, it updates that map and it updates that that status therein. So from this, we can go ahead, say, put together a sign one. We can select team members, one or more from here. It's like Rob. So I ask him to do stuff all the time here. And we can designate to either send an email if they're, you know, another superintendent or foreman or something like that. They can get an email email notification, or it can just be sent to the application that's on their phone for field crews. We can either specify an address, or we can actually select a location from the map, you know, try and populate it therein. We can you know, sort of do this in two ways. We can either do it, you know, directly address based, and then we can also do it based upon intersections and things of that nature as well, because a pothole doesn't have an address. So with that, we also we can do it whether, you know, what the status is, if it's new, in progress, closed, the priority, you know, due dates, especially if these are prescribed tasks over a longer period of time. And then also starting to do things like estimated start and stop, and, you know, adding things such as time tracking, description, adding images, all that sort of stuff. So this is sort of the initial view that you would have from you know, from sort of the dispatching side, from in the head office. From the field side, we have applications that are under development for both Apple and Android devices, and You would also have a view from this, say you were superintendent out in the road and being able to actually add in these additional pieces of work. But then also the ability to see these as a worker. And so you can go in, I've got various bits, number of work orders that are open, work orders that are closed, being able to switch my base map, help identify things. This icon is actually going to bring me and refocus the map itself to my location. The ability to filter out by particular type, so just show me today, show me this week, show me the things that I need to do. Any specific types of work, anything like that. Going in, any notifications that would come up. So these are, sort of in-app notifications that would come up and allow you to see, some of these communications out in the field, things that can work a little bit better. One of the highlights, at least to me, because I had worked in a remote community at one point, is that these applications, there's going to be limitations on how much data can be, sort of transferred between the application itself and in the database when you don't have a cellular signal. But there's a significant amount of the application that actually works fine offline. So this becomes extremely beneficial if you have areas of your communities that don't have good cellular service, and you still need to dispatch, still need to have information available to folks, and they can also update any of these work orders as they come through. So go back to the map here. You can go ahead and select any of these individual components herein. Go in, any number of work orders and things of that nature. So so a whole bunch of different components in here. So I'm coming up on about 5 minutes. Tanner, Michelle, did you want to open things to some Q&A for a few minutes?
Sure, we've got a few that have come in here. So the first, I believe we already talked about, was how the costs are determined.
Yep, okay.
So that one we covered. Next question, can the software be integrated with WorkTech?
I'm not familiar with WorkTech as a brand, but I'd be happy to discuss offline. We have a significant amount of interoperability with systems, so systems of multiple different kinds. So I'd actually just plain be interested to learn a little bit more about WorkTech.
Okay, and then the next couple of questions are about when different features will show up. So is the budget comparison part of the update you mentioned?
It is.
I don't have it as part of my program.
It is.
And same thing with the priority editor.
Yeah, so both of those are more recent updates, and so Jeremy, if you have if you have a particular timeline for things that are due, happy to help bump you to the top of the list there. But yeah, our goal is basically within the month to have each and every one of our clients updated fully. We go through one by one so that we can do a little QA QC after the update of each, and that just that takes a hold of different customers' data and stuff like that. So so yes, those are coming.
Okay. Next question was, you said the applications for iPhone and Android are under development. Is there anything available right now?
Not right now. Very soon. I wish it was right now, but it's not. What we are doing is, and if anyone's interested, they can feel free to reach out to me. We are signing up some clients for sort of an initial beta release. We'll be doing this at a heavily discounted price, in part because it's it ends up a little bit of a partnership between both us and the community who would be working with this. So expect those to come soon. If you have interest in doing so, please reach out to me, and we can speak more about it.
Okay. All right. Another question, is there a route patrol option available with the mobile app? ideally looking for something that would allow us to record road and weather conditions while patrolling during winter months.
That's, so that's not something that we had envisioned at first. I've definitely, I've worked on snow operations applications before, and we've done something similar. So I'd actually be very interested in seeing what, ideally what uses, and what sort of parameters would be beneficial, because I would see that, becoming a reality one day, especially for all of those of us that are a little bit farther in the north. Does the system link with Citywide? So the data can be fed into Citywide. I'll say I have a fairly limited amount of exposure to Citywide, and it's not one of the asset management systems that I've personally run. But my baseline understanding is that the data that we work with and manipulate can be ingested by Citywide. But I'm happy to delve into that in a little bit more tactical conversation with anybody as well.
Yeah, and I can speak to that a little bit, Jim. In Ontario, Citywide is the asset management platform that we most commonly see. We have, of our nearly 50 municipalities that we work with, probably half of them have Citywide, and that we have linked with it. Typically, what will happen is that it will simply be the pavement condition index, or PCI, that is put into Citywide, and then that impacts. What I've typically seen is that it's more the finance people that are using Citywide, and that the roads people aren't. But so they're handing that information over to the finance people so that they're able to do their asset management planning, and they're able to meet their requirements around financial requirements. And so that's what they're using it for. But whatever information that they want, we can easily put over into it.
Okay.
And we could have that discussion, as you said, to find out, okay, what are the data fields that you want to put into Citywide? We have to make sure the segments align. We've done it many, many times, and we're happy to work with you on that to make it work for you.
Yeah. And based upon my sort of rudimentary understanding of Citywide as a particular system, here in the U.S., we've got similar basically requirements under our financial reporting requirements within our treasurer's offices and stuff, and what we've, at least historically, what I've done typically has been we do our active management of the roadway and the segmentations and applying our treatments and doing our budgeting within our asset management system, and from that we derive we really derive some insight. And with that, those values and those prescriptive measures for maintenance, and really looking at the overall depreciation of the roadway, we feed that into under what we had as our GASB 34 requirements for reporting. Basically, we would do our pavement. We would have a lifespan for all of our buildings, our water mains, our treatment centers. So it was a lot less of, the active, maintenance and management of it. And it was more so, community, you have assets, those assets cost, they have, they depreciate over time. You need to account for that depreciation. And we would feed that information into our accounting system.
All right, so it seems like with that, we've come to the end of our questions, and I think the end of our time.
Tanner, I just want to clarify a question from Charlene regarding what's available now. So to make the distinction, the work order is not currently available, it's under development. But StreetLogix, everything that you saw is available for new customers, for new municipalities who sign on. They would get all of that. For our existing, As Jim mentioned, those things are rolling out and will be complete for everybody by the end of the month.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, hopefully that clarifies, but I'm happy to have a further conversation just to make sure that everything's understood, the distinction between the two systems.
All right. So thanks everybody for joining. Thanks Jim and Michelle for presenting today. And we look forward to hearing back from everybody with further questions or with any interest in the service.
Yeah.
Have
Thanks, Tanner, and thanks, LAS members. I appreciate it. It was, it's great to share some of the stuff with you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.